Guys, I'm out front of the shop with Billy Blythe. We're gonna do the demo on the 79 GS1000SN. Billy, fired up. Wow.
Wow, it's right. Big muscle. Big muscle.
Billy B, looking good out there. Hey, when you rode by the first time, you know what I pictured was you riding this thing on the banks of Daytona.
Me too.
The sound going by.
The feel of this beautiful, giant, massive 1000cc Suzuki motor is amazing. Total linear power delivery, but you know, thinking of racing at Daytona, I can't imagine the boys back in the day. Like Wes Cooley was kind of a diminutive guy, and this bike is the Wes Cooley replica. We all know it as this. He was a rather small man, but he must have been really strong because you know these are a big motorcycle, but he manhandled it and made history with these bikes. Really, these machines on the racetrack, second to none. National champion, and Wes was the man to put it through its paces, for sure. In fact, right here in my pocket, I have a picture of Wes on one of these bikes.
Wow.
Now that's pitched right over with a knee dragging on the road, and you know, pieces of the engine cut off so they can lay it over farther.
Wow.
This is quite a chassis. I've done a little reading on this. It's so beefy it doesn't flex, and it pushes the tires to the limits. So they had to run slicks on these bikes, and that's a sign of a champion chassis when you can run slicks and you don't run into problems. So these are a real fantastic motorcycle.
Just incredible. We actually purchased it locally here, right here in Connecticut. And guys, we found another one. It's been years in business here out of this location. And I think this is the second GS1000N that we've had through the shop, and we have a long work order on it. It's been tuned in. How's the bike working out there, Bill?
Beautiful. I mean, the brakes are on point, and that's a lot of machine to stop. I think it's like 580 pounds. You know, and I did some performance stopping on the bike, and it really pulls down beautifully, nice and straight and true. Yeah, with that robust chassis and this super performing engine, you know, it's double overhead cam, 2 valves per cylinder, so it really is a machine that wants to stay in tune, it wants to breathe, and it does fantastically. 5-speed, you don't need a 6-speed on an engine like this, you probably only need a 4-speed. But this bike was meant for the long haul. And obviously this bike hasn't had a lot of use because it doesn't have a lot of wear on it. You can't see where it's been used much at all. Fantastic, you know, fit and finish on these GS1000Ss, and the iconic look of this blue and white livery. I mean, you know, you will not see yourself going the other way on this bike every day because there aren't that many. We've had a couple S models here. We've had a few of the other GS1000s, but I think only just that I know of 2 GS1000Ss. So it's a super scarce bike and very, very well built.
And this bike is sporting original paint with the exception of the front fender, which was actually repainted in-house here. Is that right, Bill?
Yes,
original
it is.
Paint everywhere else.
Yeah, that original paint everywhere else. There was minor touch-up here and there, but the fairing survived. Look at that. That's it's a big. It is a piece of the puzzle that often gets lost. If the bike had crashed, these would be gone. All these pieces here are very vulnerable, and so this bike has stayed its whole life on its wheels, apparently.
I always loved the 1000S profile, that air dam.
Yeah.
What do you call it, Bill?
Yeah, front spoiler, air dam. Yeah, it's like keeping the front end down. Well, these bikes are capable of 140 miles an hour, thereabouts, stock. Can you imagine if you built it up, and you put the tune on the motor and, some racing cams and pistons, you're probably pushing 150 or more horsepower. And like we were saying, robust, you look up the word robust in a dictionary and there's a picture of one of these. Check out the chain. It's a 630 chain, massive chain for that final delivery. Yeah, it's huge.
So check it out, guys. Again, we bought it from a Connecticut collector who's owned it since 1988. Clean and clear Connecticut title that'll be transferred through our dealership to the new owner. So the bike was completely serviced by Jeff Castine, who's overqualified to be working on these 4-cylinder machines.
Yeah, Jeff is a guy. He had his hands on these inline fours from Suzuki as the spec engine builder for a company called Whip City Speedway that held races for mini sprints in Westfield, Massachusetts. So he built literally hundreds of these engines, knows them inside out like no one else. So he's the guy to have work on him.
He's a tuning expert and genius. Sorry to cut you off, Bill. No. Developed intakes for those 4-cylinder machines, and he also owned one of the first Dynajet 240s that were developed by Dynajet in the 90s. He actually worked with the Dynajet guys in Southern California when they began producing them. So Jeff removed the carburetor bank and cleaned in the ultrasonic tank and did a full tune. So it has new intake manifold gaskets, new spark plugs, set the points, gap, and timing, installed a brand new battery. Let me see. Installed brand new air boots and clamps, installed a new fuel petcock, installed a new air filter, which I showed you a little bit earlier. Completely went through the brakes. So front and rear, full front brake service, installed all new braided brake lines and fittings, rebuilt. Let me see. Oh, new front brake master cylinder, rebuilt both front brake calipers, caliper slide service, installed the front fender, installed the new mirrors. These mirrors are complete unobtainium. I wish Kyle was here to tell you about the struggle that we had with these mirrors. This is an original set. I believe one's been replaced with an OEM replacement. Reproductions don't exist. These are like complete unobtainium. Total gold. Bill, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I believe that one mirror that was replaced, Kyle was able to source it, but from overseas. It's an OEM mirror, and the last one left on the planet is what he said.
You know what happened, guys? When Jeff was tuning this bike over this past summer, someone went on a test ride. The glass fell out of the original.
Oh,
that's
no.
what happened, right, Bill?
Oh no, that's right. I've forgotten.
It was some months ago.
Yeah.
This bike's been here for some time, so that's why the bike was tabled, and we waited months for that component. Complete engine oil service with Maxima engine oil. New Suzuki OEM oil filter. Service a clutch pack. So he deglazed the clutch steels, torqued clutch hub. He torqued the clutch hub nut to spec as preventative maintenance, and a new clutch cover gasket as part of that oil change. Going over the parts list, so new petcock, NGK plugs, new MGO air filter, new Yuasa battery. Let me see. 2 gallons of VP small engine fuel, 94 octane ethanol free, nice stable fuel. New fuel line, new vacuum line, new vent hoses, get to go along with the full carburetor service. New braided stainless front brake lines. The front fender was the piece that was restored by our staff, so new front fender decals, then 3 quarts of engine oil filter, and then the seat cover was replaced by Dean, our expert. It does have the original seat pan, which I showed a little bit earlier. Let me see if there's anything else I could tell you here. And of course, a full detail and preservation service, hot water pressure washed, degreased, cleaned the tires, polished the muffler, the engine, the hardware, miscellaneous hardware throughout the bike, the handlebars. Light touch-up locally on the frames, not a full repaint. This is a preservation service. Anywhere where there's paint missing or there's paint scuff was touched up professionally in-house here in a controlled environment. Calipers were repainted, painted the header. The original tins were touched up and let me see, installed a new seat cover. Let me see, and then sublet repairs. Dean, our in-house painter, painted the front fender. Total for the work order, big work order on this one. The bike's been here for over a year now. $4,831.48. It's after tax, environmental fee, and $418 worth of parts. A lot of labor there, just 33 hours. So $4,831. If you were to bring this bike to us as it was, as a nice original survivor, that's what it would have cost you to bring the bike up to snuff, and it's no joke. Any GS1000S that's been sitting for some time is going to need that service. Full, complete fuel system service, plugs, ignition, front and rear brakes. All the hydraulics are going to need to be rebuilt and serviced. You're going to have weird stuff like that mirror that fell out. That was a God incident, I would call it. And then you're going to be waiting 3 to 6 months to get a new one at great expense. I think it was like $250. We'll have to double check the work order. I know we had the parts list recorded. And then a professional detail. Even a museum quality, low mileage bike, you're going to have to go through that preservation service. And unless you have a master tech on staff or you're very well versed and you have the time, good luck getting that done reasonably, Billy.
Right, if you can even find anybody to do that kind of work, because carburetors and ignition points and those kind of things are a thing of the past. So our experts here know exactly how to handle all that stuff. The brake flushing and all that, it's pretty standard, but fine tooth comb, this bike has been gone through. I went out and rode it with confidence, even though I'd never ridden the bike before, Kenny. I ripped it up the road and used the brakes for all they're worth, and came back and the brakes were going pop, pop, tink, tink, because they were so hot. That's what you do when you performance brake, and that's what happens. This bike is really, really in excellent condition. Rides perfectly. It is a wonderful machine. And these things won a lot of superbike races back in the early 80s, like 79, 80, 81. These were at the top of the heap. And everybody watched out for Suzuki and Wes Cooley and his teammates. Superbike wins don't come easy, and only the best of the best can do that. And back then, superbike racing was at its pinnacle in America. So these machines did not look like racers, but those riders could put these great bikes through their paces. And like I was saying before, the chassis on this bike, second to none. It got rave reviews from everybody that rode it because it had that rigidity from thin wall steel tubing. But lots of bracing and gussets. They came to the finish line with this chassis in a big way. I don't think they were modified much for the works racers, the ones that came from the factory. So, that's a telltale sign of a top-notch bike, is the fact that they could bring it to the racetrack and not have to do a lot of work to make it what it was. Pops Yoshimura, the great man from Japan that created a lot of the Yoshimura, all of the Yoshimura accessories, engine parts, pistons. He was the team manager, I believe, on the Suzuki team, and brought these bikes to a very high level. And right now, as a stock original bike, you don't find these every day. You just don't.
They're few and far between. Any idea on production?
No, I don't. I didn't get the production stats, but I don't think they were that high. The S model was kind of a unique piece.
Right.
I think they wanted to do it for exclusivity, possibly. Right. Yeah, a lot of the machines that were raced, they were low numbers in production, but just enough to get homologated to get okayed for AMA racing. So
it's total unobtainium, and it's turnkey.
Yeah.
A lot of work went into this, a lot of time. This isn't something that was done overnight. And any one of these tucked away in a private collection is going to need the same service. It's not for the faint of heart. It was a lot of work. This one's ready to be displayed, taken to the track, maybe a little armor racing.
A little track day, maybe?
The Barber Vintage Fest, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Spin it for a couple laps, a little commemorative spin. Or just to be enjoyed. Register it for the street. We have a clear Connecticut title. We can ship it anywhere in the States inexpensively, so message your zip code for a shipping quote. We work with Freedom Road Financial on financing. If you'd like to work with a lender on it, call to get pre-approved. It takes about 3 minutes. Call the shop line and ask to speak with me, Ken Kaplan Jr. We'll get you dialed in. If you have any questions, feel free to call the shop, 860-454-7024. You can ask to speak with Bill Blythe or myself. Be happy to help you out. But super pleased to bring through another GS1000SN. This is a very well sorted machine. And I think the new owner is going to be very pleased. A couple things I wanted to note before we sign off. Jordan, come close. Did notice, I'm not sure if there's sort of a clear coat issue back here. Original paint. Jordan, come over here. See where the paint was touched up. Let me see. The seat cover's been replaced. We had to work it a bunch. This is the best that we could get it. Let me see down here, the original side panel. This is in tremendous shape. The side panels are the best on the bike. Another little blem, maybe a little bit of touch up right here. Coming up to the tank, you see a couple spots where it was touched up white, and then up around the gas cap where it was touched up professionally. It's original paint. If we were to keep it in the family, I would keep this paint on the bike and not repaint it. The last thing I wanted to note, the original gauges, they're kind of a weak point on this bike. Mileage is unknown because, well, the odometer has it. Well, when it starts vibrating, it just starts spinning around. And Billy could probably demonstrate that before we sign off here. But so true mileage is unknown. Oh, check this out. The clock is functional.
That is the original quartz clock. These bikes came with a quartz clock, and I think they were very proud of that. So that clock is still working. I don't know. It's not on time, but could be from a different time zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
So other than that, the front fender was painted professionally. Mags are in great shape. The fork lowers, no leaky fork seals or blown out shocks here. This is a very well sorted bike. It's ready for the track. Or to be enjoyed by the new owner. I think highest and best use, fill the spot in your collection, ride it on the weekends, enjoy it, keep it running. It's got good stable fuel in it. We'll keep it that way, give you a good fuel suggestion, oil suggestion to the new owner, and put some miles on it. Enjoy it on the weekends, maybe take it to some events, and keep it as an investment, and maybe an heirloom. What do you think, Bill?
It would be a real head turner wherever it goes. I know it is here. Everybody that sees it stops and goes, wow.
Sorry about that, guys. The battery on the camera died. Show them the. So you guys see how the odometer got it built?
Yeah.
You see how the odometer is moving around like that. So the cluster needs to be rebuilt. So either find a rebuild service or find another genuine GS1000SN cluster. That would be the best way to handle that. Other than that, bike's in tremendous shape. Any closing remarks, Bill?
Just riding the bike around a little bit on the clutch in first gear. As soon as you get rolling on this bike, it feels like a lightweight. It really does. It has that feel about it. It's not. It doesn't feel like a bulky, fat, heavy, giant, Japanese four-stroke, four-cylinder. It feels like a lightweight. Pretty surprising, actually. Remarkable in its own right. I like the bike. I'm very happy with it.
Thanks for watching, guys. She's going to go across the way into the museum where she's going to stay until she finds new ownership. Good luck bidding, and God bless America.